Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another East Tennessee fishing report with the man himself, Ellis Ward. Ellis, how are you?
I'm doing good, Marv. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble, and just so our listeners appreciate this, you are elbow deep in deer death in your front yard, right?
Backyard. But yes, I am currently, as I say these words, cutting into a bucktail with my trusty Danco fillet knife.
Well, there you go. Probably have, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds of borax, right?
Yeah, I need to make a run, honestly, but I do have a little bit of a stash.
Yeah. So, we're kind of teetering over, and this is one of the reasons you have time to process is we're kind of teetering away from trout. The trout are spawning, shifting to musky fishing. So you have a little bit more time off the water, but you're still chasing the fish too, right?
Yeah. It's definitely musky season, and we've had pretty low water on the French Broad. Got out last week, and so thankfully we got a good soaking last night, and it's going to be we're kind of finally in a little bit of a few days on, few days off, precipitation, rain. So things are going to be settling into their respective winter norms, which a lot of times for musky means their winter lies. And fun part about the French Broad is that it's almost fishing tailwaters for trout and headwaters for musky. So a lot of it's not all. I fish and guide about 22, 23 miles of that river, and so some of it falls into the same category that you might find on the New or the James, where the muskies move and really change behaviors during the winter. But then on the upper reaches, it's almost tailwater because it's a headwater. So in the winter, it doesn't get nearly as cold as the lower reaches because it's sort of insulated by all of the springs that are feeding it. So, it's a good time of year, and I have a kid, number 3, will be joining us this week. So kind of a good time to not be super busy, and then just looking at the calendar and both trips and the fishing prospects. December goes by really quickly. This is also a good time of year where if I'm getting trout trips or if guys are asking about fishing, I'm really pushing to musky because the browns are very actively spawning. They have been for a few weeks. And speaking very openly, the rivers are somewhat packed with boats that are anchored over areas where they're spawning. And that combined with the fact that, not all trout are spawning at the same time, but things just get a little weird. They change behaviors. Their minds are on different things. A lot of them are just, for my boat, completely off the menu. And then the other ones just, it's funky. So, a little bit. I'm not sure if you call it a shoulder season, but musky and bucktail for right now. And then in just a few short weeks, we will be in post spawn. I have a couple of videos that I'm going to be sharing to get folks juiced up, but January and February are my favorite times of year to be doing what we do. And I certainly like the other months as it gets warmer and, caddis. I love dry flies. Sulfur gets going May, June, July with the water releases on the Watauga. There's a lot of good stuff here, but January and February can be unique and they can offer an opportunity the ceilings on good days are pretty bonkers. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and of course that shot of rain. I know water's been low, and so anything you do to get a little bit more water in the system and get a little bit of stain in the water kind of tilts the odds back in the angler's favor on the musky front, right?
Yes. I have, I just put a post up a couple weeks ago saying that this is, someone's 40-inch muskie in his first hour of ever fishing for muskie, which makes sense in a way that only muskie fishing can have something make sense. So oddly, in a lot of different respects, it's, it takes time to acclimate to certain conditions. I think that happens for both the fish and for the anglers, but there's same thing goes with trout. It's just when you're able to get a presentation in areas where fish are that might otherwise be a little more difficult to get a good presentation with a fly. So said a different way, you have maybe a little outside bend that is just a little pushy. So both from a rowing perspective, you can maybe only get 4, 5, 6 decent shots in. Everything's a little slower and bigger with musky fishing, but it's actually been so low where some of those areas are pooling out a little bit. So I think for the sake of your own fishing and for my guiding, they can be spunkier at certain times, but one of our biggest challenges is to get flies near where they might be when they are going to eat. And low water can certainly offer that. Clear, not my favorite. Sunny days, also not great. So the weather that we have now is certainly helping that.
Yeah, absolutely. And got a question from Austin. I think he hit you up on Instagram. Knows that there's a ton of options from water and species in Southwest Virginia, East Tennessee, but kind of want to get your thoughts on, and this is kind of apropos for heading into 2026, maybe New Year's resolution to fish new and different water. How do you decide on new places to fish and kind of how do you start fishing them?
Yeah. Austin, I appreciate that question, that message. I think about this a lot. I've been thinking about it since I moved here. It's been 6 years, and the Watauga's 10 minutes from my house. South Holston's 20. So when I'm looking at trout water, I really have to think about what I'm doing. And I get a little mucked up with value of time and is this am I approaching something with the prospect of guiding? And so I've done that a lot for musky fishing, and that can be challenging sort of as a mental game of just sticking something out and seeing it through and realizing maybe that you have to go and work. And especially if you're going for big browns, muskies, striper, areas that might hold larger smallmouth, carp flats, any of this fun stuff. Like part of it is going out and putting together what might look good, which when you have, this is a conversation that I have on a cast to cast basis with the French broad, musky, and browns on the tailwaters. You can start to cast behind me, and it's because there are so many options that you want to get a good presentation in each one. And realistically, you just need to choose the best spot on a cast to cast basis and ignore everything else. And so when you do have so much stuff in front of you, as Austin and any others are looking at Google Maps and reading books and blogs, and dude, so many people are just trying to sell you something, be it a trip or some gear or, get you to the nearest fly shop around wherever. with fishing reports. So you're going to do, I think, the best by yourself and whoever you're with to go on Google Maps and look at what's around. So are there spring creeks coming in? Are there known trout streams in that area? Are there known smallmouth streams in that area? Where are musky endemic to? Where have they been stocked? Where are people running trips and what creeks connect to them? And then start working like the high percentage areas, like mouths of streams or creeks coming into lakes. The same thing with bigger rivers, like looking at where little spring creeks are coming into the Nolichucky or the French Broad, and spending some time just on the main channel at the mouths of those places, but also up into those places. And heck, I've gone up and fished some streams that feed the Nolichucky just to see what's going on in there, and have found that they're nice little trout streams. And so it's like, all right, well, what does that tell you about the base of that stream? And if the base of that stream has some deep pools and maybe another creek or two that come in there, then it's a somewhat self-sustaining ecosystem. And that's a good place for big fish to stay, because there's going to be bait that are happy all year long, even when it's too hot or too cold, in many other places on that stretch of the river. And then another place, or another thing about this area that can feel overwhelming, is the number of reservoirs and tailwaters, and just that lake, dam, river that goes all the way through Tennessee, starting up in Virginia. But those are, man, they get fed by cold water, and a lot of them are deep, and a lot of them are fed by streams, like I was talking about, that are in their own right good trout and smallmouth streams. So, the edges of those lakes and reservoirs and, different regions of those reservoirs themselves, if you have a boat, can just be, everything can have its time. And I think one of the best pieces of advice is go out with an intention. So I want to figure out if there's something about striper in this reservoir. It's like, you need to dedicate a season to that minimum, and recognize that you might miss the good days. So you're not going to really know what the potential is of any body of water, in my opinion, until you've done it tirelessly 3, 4, 5 days a week, maybe a couple hours a day, but really as much as you can be getting out there constantly, doing it at night, doing it in all types of conditions, just to see what's going on, try to pattern different things. And so there's pros and cons to all that, because a little bit of that's impossible unless you're a guide. But it can also be like a little pet project. You can have something that you has some potential, and that's the one thing that you spend your free time doing. And man, there's a lot of fishy stuff around here. So odds are it's going to pay off if you just dedicate some time into stuff that has all the right things, and maybe you haven't seen a whole lot or heard a lot, but you spend time out there, you're going to find it.
There you go, Austin. I hope that was helpful. And, folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly. You can email me or DM me on social media, whatever's easiest for you. And you can DM Ellis as well, as we've just seen. And if we use your question, I will send you some Articulate Fly swag and enter you in a drawing for some cool stuff. I guess this will probably be maybe the first episode of 2026. We'll do the drawing and some cool stuff from Ellis. And Ellis, before I let you go and continue to be elbow deep in dead deer and borax and bucktails and rit dye, you want to let folks kind of know how to reach out, get on the guide calendar, pick up some bucktails, pick up some flies, and all that kind of good stuff?
Yes. Musky fishing and post-spawn browns, January, February, musky fishing right now through the same period of time into March and April. Text me, call me. But if you like streamer fishing, if you like musky fishing, it's time to go. My number is 513-543-0019. Information, pictures, whatever, if you need to get sold on some of this stuff visually, it can be found, along with some flies and bucktail, can be found at elliswardflies.com.
Well, there you go. Well, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ellis.
Appreciate it, Marv.